Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. Today I'd like to talk with you about how to make the most of counseling, when you're a client and you're working with a helping professional. Identical twins could see the same counselor, and one of them could derive far more benefit. Well, here are some ways to make the most of your counseling, whether it's career counseling, personal counseling, relationship counseling, whatever. First, regarding choosing a counselor. Your friends recommending their practitioner is usually less valid than perusing reviews on sites such as Yelp or Healthgrades. The latter are based not on one person's recommendation, but on many. Consider identifying 3 candidates based not just on their average number of stars, but if the comments suggest that they specialize in your kind of problem and their style seems well suited. And to that end, also visit the practitioner's website. If one of them feels like a possible fit, phone the person. That will provide a better sense of their style, their intelligence, and so on. Unless that call makes clear that that person is worth at least one session, phone a second or even a third candidate. Now let's turn to how to prepare for a session. Based on the conversation you have with the practitioner, agree on a tentative agenda for the first session. Consider confirming that in writing. You might do that before each session. That goes a long way to ensuring that you make the most of each session. The good practitioner also appreciates seeing an agenda in advance because it helps in preparing for the session and in being clear on what your goals are. Of course, the practitioner can, in advance or during the session, suggest a change in the agenda. Now let's turn to respecting the practitioner's time. If you need to reschedule or cancel, do give the practitioner at least 24 hours notice. Good practitioners are busy, and that gives the person time to get someone from the wait list. Besides, it shows respect for the practitioner. Much as practitioners try to treat all clients with maximum care, they're human, and so they may not be able to resist doing a little more planning, being a little more present with a client who's respectful. And of course, do show up on time. It's another sign of respect, as well as ensuring you get the full session. I want to make a pitch now for recording the sessions. Ask the practitioner if you can record sessions. Listening to the recording is usually more useful even than the session. That's because you can reflect on and maybe generate a better answer to the counselor's questions without having to come up with it on the fly. Also, in listening to yourself, you may learn about yourself in the same way as reviewing a video is useful in mock job interviews or in taking a sports lesson. Next, I want to suggest that you consider using what I've called, probably ad nauseum, the traffic light rule. It's normative in counseling for the client to feel okay about talking at length. But generally, more is accomplished if you can be concise. If you tend to be long-winded, consider using the traffic light rule, which I've described often to you in previous YouTubes. Anyway, but I'll reiterate it and kind of customize it to this purpose here. During an utterance's first 30 seconds, your light's green. In the second 30 seconds, it's yellow, which means it may be wiser to let the counselor talk. And after 1 minute, your light's red. It's likely that the counselor has something valuable to say. If you need to say more, you can do that after the counselor has responded. Not only does that ensure that you get to hear what the counselor has to say, you're allowing the practitioner to be active in the session, can keep the counselor alert and motivated. It's tough for a counselor to stay fully focused all day if they have to be in listening mode most of the time. Next, I want to suggest that you think twice before disagreeing. When a counselor makes a suggestion, it's tempting to disagree. Maybe it's a legitimate disagreement you have, but sometimes your disagreement is because of defensiveness or feeling embarrassed that you didn't come up with the idea yourself. When in doubt, at least acknowledge the possibility that the counselor's idea is worthy. Few counselors like being disagreed with or yes-butted most of the time. Later, you can reflect on a suggestion and, of course, accept or reject it as you deem wise. I want to suggest also now that you redirect if needed. I'll explain. Sometimes a counselor may be taking you down a path that you're confident is unwise. Don't be shy about tactfully redirecting. For example, I've considered what you said and I wonder if revisiting it might not be as profitable as, and then insert some suggested change of direction. Offer feedback. In session, when the counselor does something effective, consider saying so. For example, I'm glad you reined me in. I was going off on a tangent. Conversely, if a counselor does something you're unhappy with, you might tactfully mention it. For example, I like hearing your suggestions, but when I reject them, I'm not crazy about your continuing to push it. Request homework. Only so much can be accomplished within a session. Ask the counselor for a homework assignment. If you can think of one, it's usually better for you to propose it. You may, better than the counselor, know what you need and are motivated to do. Say thank you. At the end of sessions, and maybe occasionally in a thank you note after working together, thank the counselor. We all like to be appreciated. For example, you might say, I know I was difficult this session. I appreciate your patience. Ask to email between sessions. Ask the counselor if you might email or text a brief question in between sessions. That way, if you get stuck, for example, doing your homework, you needn't wait inert until the next session. Of course, don't abuse the privilege. Once between sessions is reasonable, 5 times is not. And then, of course, do your homework, adapting it as needed. That may seem obvious, but many clients don't do their homework. That, of course, limits progress, and it can even demotivate the counselor. And finally, take charge of termination. You may know better than does the counselor when it's time to terminate the relationship, if only temporarily. For example, you might say, I've learned a lot from our sessions, and I now have a lot to work on, so I'd like to take a break from our sessions. Maybe in a month or 2, we'll resume. I do want to thank you for, and then insert a specific or two, and saying, it's been helpful. If you make the most of counseling, it can greatly benefit your life. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I'm Marty Nemko. I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments, and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. And in any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.